Great. Well, thank you, McCartney, and welcome everybody to our fall Board of Trustees meeting. So if you would, McCartney, please call the roll.
In accordance with Tennessee Code 8-44-108, Section C3, I have two questions to ask if you could answer for the record as I call the roll. Are you able to hear us clearly so you can participate in this meeting? And please identify any persons present in the room with you. Trustee Atkins?
Yes, I'm in the conference room with Ms. Johnson, Dr. Johnson.
Trustee Kanata?
Yes, and I'm in the room alone.
Trustee Hogan?
Yes, and I'm in the room alone.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes, and I have my trusty chauffeur, Sandy, driving the vehicle.
Trustee Luck?
Yes, and I'm in here alone.
Trustee May?
Yes, and I'm alone.
Trustee McKinnis?
Yes, and I'm in the room alone.
Trustee Mealer? Trustee O'Malley?
Yes, and I'm by myself.
Trustee Wadia?
Yes, I'm by myself.
So thank you very much. We have a quorum. Thank you, McCartney. Before we move into our agenda for the day, let me just offer a couple of notes. First of all, we thank Trustee Larry Carroll, who has rolled off the board after the summer meeting this year. Larry was a terrific member of the board, the inaugural Board of Trustees, and he will certainly be missed. And we also, at the same time, want to welcome Carrie McInnes. Carrie was part of the special call board meeting in August and has been appointed to the Board of Trustees. And as an Austin P alum, she has been very involved with the university in a number of roles over the years. And Carrie, we welcome you to the board. And then finally, we know that Robin Mealer is not with us today. And we want to keep her and her family in our prayers after the loss of her husband, Jerry, last week. So please keep Robin and her family in your thoughts and prayers. And with that, please note that there are some items on the agenda that need to be adopted. Before I call for a vote, are there any items that you wish to be extracted from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I move for adoption of the agenda, including the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
A second.
Thanks, Valencia. I move for adoption of the agenda, which includes consent agenda. I'm sorry, I second that motion. Or Valencia has seconded it. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Here.
Trustee Kanata?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Luck?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee McInnes?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Wadia?
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. The agenda is adopted. The minutes for the June 5th, 2020 board meeting and the special called meetings on July 6th and August 21st were circulated in advance. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
Second.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Kanata?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Luck?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee McInnes?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Wadia?
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. At this time, I'd like to recognize Interim President Danelle Whiteside, who will introduce today's campus spotlight. And before you do, Danelle, just kind of an official, since this is the actual board meeting, we did this yesterday, but congratulations on your interim appointment and welcome to the board in your new capacity.
Thank you so much. And I'll have more to say in my president's remarks, but it's an honor. And I know that we spent a lot of time yesterday talking about COVID-19, and you'll hear some more things about COVID-19 and how we're adapting to that. But for the spotlight, I really didn't want you all to talk about COVID-19. So we are really excited to have a spotlight today on our aviation science program. As you all know, this program began in fall 2018. You all approved that, and it's the first rotorcraft program to be attached to a bachelor's degree in this state. Charlie Wigan is the program director and chief helicopter pilot, and he's here to tell you a little bit more about the program and to provide some exciting news about what's happened in the program over the summer. And actually, I said I wasn't going to say something about COVID-19, but they were one of the first programs to test our policies because they had to, for when we moved remote from March, we had to figure out how we could bring them back in the helicopter, seeing as though they would all be in very close quarters. And so they had waivers and, you know, had a number of guidelines to abide by. So I just want to say they're innovative in a lot of ways, and we appreciate them. I also want to thank Dr. Karen Meisch, who is the Dean of the College of STEM, and Dr. Christine Nakutis, who is the Executive Director at the Fort Campbell Center at APSU Center at Fort Campbell, and they have played a key part in the operational side of the program. They both helped to launch the program, so we appreciate them. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over to Charlie to give more information about our aviation science program.
Good morning, trustees and others watching this presentation. If you could start the video on this first slide, please. What you're going to see is just some excerpts of the flight that I undertook, bringing our first helicopter back from Oregon last winter. It was an exciting flight across the Rockies, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a great workout for our first helicopter that we brought back. And if you can't get that started, then we'll just go into the next slide, please. Okay, so we have the Bachelor of Science in Aviation Science with a concentration in Professional Rotary Wing Pilot program. Next slide, please. And what it is a four-year degree in aviation science, and it includes the flight training to achieve your private pilot, commercial pilot, certified flight instructor, and certified instrument flight instructor certificates, along with your instrument rating. So it's pretty much an ab initio program, taking students from zero experience and gaining all of these certificates, and put them in a position where they can go to work immediately as flight instructors, should they so desire to do that when they graduate from the program. As part of the development of the program, we attained an FAA Part 141 certification last summer. And what that allowed us to do was bring in students and allow them to use federal student aid, Pell Grants, and federal student loans for the program. For that, under Title IX, it is required that we be a Part 141 program. As far as VA funding, we could be under either Part 61 or Part 141, but getting the Part 141 flight school certification from the FAA was a big achievement for the program last summer. Next slide, please. So this is a breakdown of basically the program and how we fall within the university. And it's a unique program in that while we're housed under the College of STEM, and particularly in the Engineering Technology Department, we also fall under the Fort Campbell Center for our operational support. And that's due to both proximity and the predominant, at least right now, predominant military and retired military presence in the program. So it puts us in a unique situation, and I kind of work for two different bosses, one on the academic side and one on the support side. You can see, as I said, we're housed under the Engineering Technology Department, and that's where the program is located. And currently, the staff that we have, or myself as the program director and chief pilot, my maintenance manager and mechanic is Mr. Jerry Gray, and my fellow instructor is Don Stanton. And next slide, please. And this gives you an idea of how we are a visible part of the community. Just a snapshot here. If you drive down Outlaw Field Road, before you reach the terminal building, you'll pass Hangar 5, and you can see the big gov head right there on the hangar door. And there's if you could see off to the right on the photo, there'd be the Austin P sign directing you to the parking lot. So we're a visible presence. Every day when we push the helicopters out, they go right onto that, they come out that door where the gov head is and go into the apron right there, and they're fully visible. There goes my screen. Fully visible to the public. So we are an integral part, or a very visible part of the community. Additionally, I attend Airport Authority meetings. The airport itself is going through a monumental growth period right now, and we are part of that growth. They've actually added a fuel truck out here just for our sole use, and they're going to put, at airport expense, put Austin P on the side of the fuel truck too. So we, really a visible part of the community, visible part of this airport, and we have some I hate to say an agreement, but it's a understanding with the local community that in times of emergency, we could actually scramble our helicopters to be part of any type of an emergency response plan for the community in any type of natural disaster. So we are a part of the community, and it's a big visible part for Austin P within the community. Next slide, please. We just put this one on here to show our proximity to Fort Campbell. And I was going to bring it up on my slide, my screen here, but I don't think you could see it that well. If you look for pretty much in the center of the screen, you'll see a purple magenta colored airport, and that's Outlaw. And we fall under Fort Campbell's airspace. We are inside Fort Campbell's airspace. So when we're operating under visual flight rules, we can operate fairly independently, but when the weather comes down, we are under their airspace and are under their control if we want to continue to operate. Additionally, there's a substantial amount of training traffic at Outlaw that we work within, and also military training traffic. So we interact with all of the elements that work in the air around this area. One of the key features of Outlaw that allows us to do flight training here and operate in a very safe environment is that we have a life flight base right here on the airfield, and we also have a fire station that can provide crash rescue should we need it in the event of some type of incident on the airfield. And it's right here, and it allows us to operate with a very high degree of confidence that if anything went wrong, we would be well taken care of. So it's really a community effort, and this is a great place to train. Next slide, please. Now run through our aircraft. This is Gov1. It's November 721 Tango X-ray, and this is the first helicopter that we obtained, and I brought this one back from Oregon on that long cross country. Took me about 3 days to get it back here. If you look at the aircraft, and you can hit the next slide, please. This is Gov2. It's the same time. Both of these aircraft are gimbal G2 Cabris. The gimbal is a French-built helicopter, and it was first certified in the United States in 2015. So it's a relatively new helicopter, and it's really a 21st century training helicopter. There are a lot of features. I could talk at length about the aircraft, but to make a long story short, when I began consulting with the university on this program, my background is military. I've been a military trainer for over 40 years. I started looking at civilian trainers and what was available. And of course, the predominant aircraft on the market right now is the Robinson R-22. And I went ahead and got some time in that aircraft and was really underwhelmed at its performance as a trainer. And when you talk about training aircraft, you can really go with two schools of thought on that. You can go with an aircraft that has horrible characteristics with the theory that it'll A, weed out students, and B, somehow make them better pilots because they have to overcome the deficiencies of the aircraft. Or you can go with a good performing aircraft and you can build up a sound base of experience with that, with the students learning in a comfortable environment. And that's what we have with the gimbal. Additionally, because it's a new aircraft and it's in production, parts are readily available, and it's not the same situation you've got with the Schweitzer 300 aircraft that that's what I learned to fly in many, many decades ago. The aircraft's been around for a while. It's a fine trainer, but it's been out of production for many, many years, and parts are scarce on that aircraft. And the part situation is not looking to get any better. So really the gimbal, even though it had a slightly higher acquisition cost, seemed to me a much better aircraft to get in the long run. And in the 2 years I've been flying it now, my estimation of that hasn't diminished at all. It's a great, great training aircraft. And could get the next slide, please. Now this is a Robinson R-44. And we got that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a little more advanced aircraft as far as instrument capabilities. So this is primarily our advanced instrument flight trainer. It also happens to be the model that our simulator is based on, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. It's a bigger aircraft, so it gives the students experience in a larger aircraft, which again gives them more experience when they get out into the industry. And also, the Robinson family of helicopters had kind of a spotty record when they started and when they were introduced, to the point where the FAA came down and put special requirements on training for that helicopter. So we incorporated it into our program so we would get the students that additional experience in the helicopter. So once again, they could go right to work when they graduate, training students in that helicopter. So it's there for really a dual reason. And it doesn't have a lot of the really negative characteristics that the smaller R-22 has. Once again, I could go into that, but it's pretty technical on the details there. Next slide, please. So this is our advanced aviation training device. And as I said, it completely models the cockpit that we have in Gov3. So there's no negative habit transfer of the students training in the simulator and then going out and getting into the real aircraft. But what this provides us with, and provides the students with, is a much reduced per hour rate of cost for them to work in the aircraft. And the FAA allows us to do 40% of the instrument training in the simulator or training device before they go out into the real aircraft. And really what this provides is it gives us time to let them train in the systems, the navigation systems and communication systems in the aircraft without wasting $600 an hour blade time with the students head down in the cockpit pushing buttons. So it really provides a lot of value for the student and makes our training much more efficient. Next slide, please. This is another shot, and it shows you the instrument panel. Thing to note about this, and it's a definitely kudo to Dr. Nakutis in that the university didn't pay a penny for this training device. It was funded through a grant through the Tennessee Department of Transportation, and it came to us as cost-free for the program. So that's a definite plus there. Next slide, please. Okay, so program growth. This is something I'm sure most of you are interested in. Is the program going anywhere? Well, the first year we started, we had 6 students, and they pretty much just went into the academic classes. The aircraft weren't here yet until the early part of 2019. So we were an aviation program without aviation at that point. But in the 2019-2020 cohort, we got 10 flight students, and they were the first ones to start flying this spring. And they're currently in their private pilot lab 2 right now. Now for the 2020-2021 cohort, we currently have 14 students, but we have another 1 or 2 that should join them in fall 2. So we look to start another group flying in our next spring 2 with 15 or 16 students. And I have to point out that this growth is really without any sustained or organized marketing campaign on the program. This is pretty much just word of mouth that's providing us with these students right now. So it's an exciting time, and when we really get geared up and start doing active marketing for the program, I think we're going to really expand greatly. We need to get the word out beyond the local area here to really expand the program, and I think that's going to happen. Next slide, please. Okay, what we've got here is a interview with Ryan Erb. He was our first student to fly solo in the program, and he can really give you a background on the average student and the ties to the community that the program has. If you could play the next slide, please.
Honestly, I found this program on Facebook, actually, just scrolling through. It's a unique program through a post-secondary education institution. For veterans like myself, you need to know that it's 100% paid for through the GI Bill. Any flight school lessons are, they're expensive. And so when I found out that the GI Bill was going to cover everything, that was a complete game changer for me. So my goal is at Awesome PR to complete this program, and along with getting my certs, we'll have a degree in aviation science, and to continue flying either as a hobby or hopefully, instructing, building hours that way, and being able to, earn a living from it. I think Awesome P's helping me by, providing 2 great instructors. I mean, they both have, over 40 years of flying experience between the 2 of them. Getting that solo in was kind of a lifelong dream of mine, and it's definitely that feeling of accomplishment was nothing I've ever felt before. I've been really happy with this school.
And next slide, please. So that's our spotlight on the aviation science program. Does anybody have any questions?
Question. That was just a fabulous presentation. Thank you for putting that together, especially with all of the pictures and graphics and video. I love the graphics on the helicopters. Look great.
Well, I have to give kudos to Mr. Bill Persing of our media department for that.
Of course, Bill, congratulations on that. You answered a lot of my questions already, but just 2 other questions. One, well, I'm just curious of what a helicopter costs. I'm glad the simulator was free, but first 2 questions. One is, what does a helicopter like that cost? And then 2, for the students getting out, what types of jobs should they expect to find when they graduate?
Okay, as to your first question, Both of those helicopters, brand new, run somewhere between $400,000 and $450,000, and that's brand new. There's an extensive used market for the R-44, so you can get them, you know, at varying prices based on the time to overhaul. Now that's the deal with any Robinson helicopter, and that is a big reason that for our workhorse trainer, I wanted that gimbal. When a Robinson helicopter, either the 22 or the 44, hits 2,200 hours of airframe time, it goes into a complete tear down rebuild. They strip that down to its skeleton and basically rebuild the aircraft from the ground up. And it's mandatory. You know, that aircraft stops flying for months. When the gimbal, with the exception of the engine, transmission, and tail rotor gearbox, everything else is on condition replacement. So it doesn't have that 2,200 hour drop dead complete rebuild that the Robinson has. So between that and just the much better flying characteristics of the gimbal, particularly in our rotation, that's a large part of the training that we do, simulate engine failures of the aircraft. We are going to save money on wear and tear of those aircraft simply because of the way they fly. Now, as to your next question, which I hate to say it escapes me at the moment. What was your second question?
Okay, so I guess the 10 students we have this year, the 24 in 2 years, what kind of jobs?
Oh, jobs, right. I'm sorry. Getting older here. Yeah, as far as the jobs are concerned, we're equipping the students that they can go to work the day they graduate as a flight instructor, and that is going to be the predominant job that they go into. And I put the students in under no illusion that they're going to graduate from this program and go right into a medevac and or flying out to the oil rigs in the Gulf or any of those other higher end jobs. They will have to build hours and get that experience. As they get more experience, their job options increase. They can go into sightseeing, aerial tours, aerial photography, charter operations, and that type of stuff. And somewhere around the 1,000 to 1,500 hour mark is where they are competitive for the higher end jobs. Now, one thing that this program does provide them, and this is a key thing, and I can't overemphasize it, and I really hammer it into the heads of the students, is the fact that they will graduate with a bachelor's degree. And that makes them so much more competitive in the job market.
Mm-hmm. I have a question.
Yes.
Of the students that are in the program, how many are former military?
Right now, we, it's good. It's interesting that you bring that up. The VA, for a program to be eligible for VA funding for students, we have to maintain what they call the 85-15 rule. We have to have a minimum of 15% non-VA or what they call non-supported students for the program. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that those 15 have to be non-military. They just have to be non-supported by VA. So right now we stay right on the edge of that. If you go down the road to MTSU, which has a huge fixed wing program, and it's been around for a couple of decades now, so they're well established. They've got the inverse of our situation. They've got about 15% VA students and 85% non-VA students. I expect once we start marketing this program beyond the local area that we will not have that issue. We will bring in more non-VA students. But right now, to answer your question, we hover right on the edge of that 15%.
Charlie, how many flight hours does a student have on graduation?
The program's designed right now for 167 hours. Now that is based on the minimums that the FAA mandates for all of the certificates. VA only pays for the minimum amount of training. What they say is they do not pay for proficiency. And it is and once again, this is something we bring out to the students, on day one or even before they sign up for the program, is that the odds are you will incur the need for more flight training beyond that minimum 167 hours. So it's very clear that is something that they do have to plan for.
Any other questions? Well, Charlie, thank you very much. That's fascinating stuff. And I remember I was there on campus the day you flew in a year or so ago, and you've come an awful long way since that inaugural day when the helicopter arrived on campus. So that's fascinating and great job. It's a good program.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. And I'd like to extend an invitation to everyone to come out and see our facility. Just give me a call and we'll work out a visit.
That'd be a good field trip one of these days. Thank you very much.
Sure.
McCartney, did you want to continue on? We're good to go?
I think so. We can continue.
I can't hear you.
We can continue.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to recognize Trustee May, member of the Academic Affairs Committee, to give a report of the committee meeting yesterday.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to present my report from yesterday's Academic Affairs Committee meeting. The committee reviewed and approved the following action items, which you approved today by consent. Policy 1-025 policy on academic tenure, and policy 2-038 on undergraduate and graduate admissions. Provost Dr. Maria Cronley presented several information items related to teaching and learning during COVID-19, degree and certificate awards by type and academic year, productivity, program productivity report, and preliminary fall enrollment report. That concludes my report. I move that the board approve the minutes of the September 17th Academic Affairs Committee meeting as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes of the Academic Affairs Committee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins,
Yes.
Trustee Canada,
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
Trustee Luck,
Yes.
Trustee May,
Yes.
Trustee McKinnis,
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley,
Yes.
Trustee Wadia.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. I'd now like to recognize Trustee Wadia, member of the Student Affairs Committee, to give us a report of the committee meeting yesterday.
Thank you for the opportunity to present my report from yesterday's Student Affairs Committee meeting. The committee reviewed and approved the following action item, which will be presented to you for action in today's meeting. Consideration of the Title IX Compliance Emergency Rule. The committee did review the following information items: COVID-19 procedures, the Code of Conduct revision. That concludes my report. I move that the board approve the minutes of the September 17th, Student Affairs Committee as written.
Thank you, Dr. Wadia. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes of the Student Affairs Committee. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins,
Yes.
Trustee Canada,
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
Trustee Luck,
Yes.
Trustee May,
Yes.
Trustee McKinnis,
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley,
Yes.
Trustee Wadia.
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. Trustee Wadia's report contained an action item that we need to consider as a full board. Trustee Wadia, do you have a motion for us?
Yes, you have before you a copy of the Title IX Compliance Emergency Rule. By direction of the committee, I move to adopt the new Title IX Compliance Emergency Rule including authorizing the president and her designees to make any technical corrections to these rules, including changes required by the Attorney General's Office or Government Operations Committee after review.
Because it's a motion of the committee, we do not need a second. You have heard the motion on adoption of the new Title IX compliance emergency rule, including authorizing the president and her designees to make any technical corrections to these rules, including changes required by the Attorney General's Office or Government Operations Committee after review. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the question on the approval of the Title IX compliance emergency rule, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins,
Yes.
Trustee Canada,
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
Trustee Luck,
Yes.
Trustee May,
Yes.
Trustee McKinnis,
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley,
Yes.
Trustee Wadia.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. The motion carries. I'd now like to recognize Trustee Canada, Chair of the Audit Committee, to give us a report on their committee meeting yesterday.
Thank you, Chairman O'Malley. It is my honor to present the activities from yesterday. Yesterday, the Audit Committee meeting reviewed and approved both of the following. First, the internal audit salaries and budget for fiscal year 2021. Second, the internal audit plan for fiscal year 2021. Next, the Audit Committee listened to presentations regarding the following 4 informational items. The first was the Office of Internal Audit's year-end report for fiscal year 2020. The second was the internal audit reports released between May 12th, 2020 and August 24th, 2020, with a list of outstanding audit recommendations. Third was the external audit reports released between May 12th and August 24th, 2020. And fourth was the internal audit governance, independence, and objectivity report. That concludes my report. I move that we approve the minutes of the Audit Committee meeting held September 17th, 2020 as written.
Thank you, Catherine. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes of the Audit Committee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins,
Yes.
Trustee Canada,
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
Trustee Luck,
Yes.
Trustee May,
Yes.
Trustee McKinnis,
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley,
Yes.
Trustee Wadia.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. I'd now like to recognize Trustee Atkins, Chair of the Business and Finance Committee, to give a report of their committee meeting yesterday.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to present my report from yesterday's Business and Finance Committee meeting. The committee reviewed the following information items: the 2020 and through the 2021 budget update, coronavirus aid relief, economic security, or the CARES Act funding, and C, the chiller rebuild project disclosure. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. I move that the board approve the minutes of the September 17th Business and Finance Committee as read.
Thank you, Billy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes of the Business and Finance Committee meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins,
Yes.
Trustee Canada,
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
Trustee Luck,
Yes.
Trustee May,
Yes.
Trustee McKinnis,
Yes. Trustee
O'Malley,
Yes.
Trustee Wadia.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. And now I'd like to have the opportunity to present my report from yesterday's executive committee meeting. The committee reviewed and approved the following action items: consideration of policy 1-001, conflict of interest; consideration of policy 1-002, Code of Ethics for members of the Austin Peay State University Board of Trustees, consideration of the revised Board of Trustees bylaws, and finally, consideration of the board evaluation process. Policy 1-001, Conflict of Interest Policy, and 1002, Code of Ethics for members of the Austin Peay Board of Trustees were a part of the consent agenda. The other items will be presented for your review and action after the approval of the Executive Committee minutes. That concludes my report, and I move that the board approve the minutes of the September 17th Executive Committee as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes of the Executive Committee. Is there any discussion? The minutes sorry, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Canada?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Luck?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee McInnes?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Wadia?
Yes.
8 yeses.
The minutes are approved. You have before you the revised Board of Trustees bylaws. By direction of the committee, I move that the board approve the revised bylaws as written. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the approval of the revised bylaws, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Canada?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Luck?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee McInnes?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Wadia?
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. The motion carries. You now have before you the board evaluation process. By direction of the committee, I move that the board approve this evaluation process. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the approval of the board evaluation process, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Canada?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Luck?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee McInnes?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Wadia?
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. The motion carries, and that concludes the report of the Executive Committee. We are being asked today to approve the naming request for the Jenkins Family Fieldhouse. I'd like to introduce Lieutenant General Ron Bailey, Vice President for External Affairs, to provide information on the naming request. General?
Chairman O'Malley, according to Austin Peay State University Policy 7009, a campus committee recommended and submitted a request that the Board of Trustees approve the naming of the Jenkins Fieldhouse. The Fieldhouse is located on campus at the corner of Marion Street and Robb Avenue. This new indoor turf fieldhouse provides all student athletes a facility to practice and train during inclement weather or for more ideal times. Every sport can use the space to have different aspects of working out to better their teams. Additionally, it stands as a very strong recruiting tool for every athletic program. Chairman O'Malley, that concludes my brief.
Thank you, General. You've heard the explanation from General Bailey. Is there a motion to approve the naming of the Jenkins Family Fieldhouse?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my pleasure to make the motion to approve that.
Second.
Thank you very much, Billy and Catherine. It is moved and seconded that we approve the naming. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the approval of the naming of the Jenkins Family Fieldhouse, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Canada?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
I recuse myself from this vote.
Trustee Luck?
I'll vote for Mr. Jenkins. Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee McInnes?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Absolutely, yes.
Trustee Wadia?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries, and thank you, Don and Sandy. I don't see Sandy, but I know she's probably next to you, Don. Thank you both for your continuing generosity to the university. We need to set the calendar of meeting dates for 2021. As a reminder, the Focus Act requires the board to have 4 regularly scheduled meetings per year. The following dates are presented after polling trustees about their availability and reviewing the campus calendar. Proposed 2021 meeting dates are as follows. The spring meeting, March 18 and 19. For the summer, June 3 and 4. The fall meeting, September 16 and the winter meeting, December 2nd and 3rd. I move that we accept the proposed meeting calendar for 2021. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the approval of the proposed meeting calendar for 2021. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Canada?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Luck?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee McKinnis?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Wadia?
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. The motion carries. You have before you now a copy of the Statement of Qualifications for the President. Storbeck Search and Associates met with various constituent groups over the last several weeks to build a prospectus. The document has been reviewed by the Presidential Search Committee and will be used by the search firm to recruit candidates. I move to approve the Statement of Qualifications for the President. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the approval of the Statement of Qualifications for the President. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Canada?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Luck?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee McKinnis?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Wadia?
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. Motion carries. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Maria Cronley, Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, to provide us with an update about the Academic Affairs Division. Dr. Cronley?
Great, thank you so much. It is my pleasure to present this meetings board update on the Academic Affairs Division. And before I begin, I actually want to thank Charlie for his earlier presentation on our Aviation Sciences program. I've had the opportunity to visit the hangar, and the program is very impressive. For my presentation today, I also want to thank everyone on my team in Academic Affairs who assisted me in putting this presentation together for today. I am very grateful to work with such a talented and amazing group of colleagues. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the Division of Academic Affairs actively supports the university's mission, vision, and strategic plan. So we're focused on providing excellent educational experiences at Austin Peay through the quality of our academic programs, the innovative and caring approach of our academic support services, and of course the distinction of our faculty, both in their teaching and in scholarship and research and creative works. So delivering on the academic outcomes and the promise of an excellent education in order to propel our graduates into great careers and to prepare them to be civically engaged and lifelong learners is why we exist as a university. I know you all know that, but I think it's important to continue to remind us of that. The academic mission must serve as the scaffolding around which all of our curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular strategies and initiatives are built. Next slide, please. So of course, at the heart of the academic mission are our academic programs, the ways in which we serve the academic mission of the university. We have instruction and credit-bearing courses. We offer bachelor's degrees, associate degrees, master's degrees, and doctoral degrees. We offer all of those degrees in flexible modalities, especially now with the pivot to COVID. We're getting more flexible in how we teach, offering face-to-face, hybrid, high flex, and multiple formats of online instruction. In addition to on-campus, of course, we also offer off-campus instruction, most notably at Fort Campbell and in our dual enrollment program in our area high schools and community centers, as well as teaching and study abroad. So we also offer those co-curricular opportunities, right? Our study abroad program, our honors program, and the President's Emerging Leaders program. And then finally, we have an institute for English as a second language. And of course, we offer a variety of continuing education programs. And those are our non-credit bearing ways in which we serve the community and adult learners. And so this creates a very nice diversity of programs and offerings to serve that mission. Next slide. So in terms of continuing to serve the mission, we fulfill a complex and comprehensive charge of supporting both students and faculty in academic affairs. So we do that through a variety of in-person and online services. Of course, Woodward Library, we have to talk about that. It's a pivotal support area, supporting both students and faculty in learning and scholarship. The academic support services that we have are wide-ranging: admissions, registration, financial aid and scholarships, veterans affairs, tutoring, student success, advising, distance education, and I don't see it noted here on the slide, but international student services and military student services. Part of academic affairs that we focus on is also faculty development and scholarship and creative activities. This is a very high priority, and we have a variety of initiatives, including faculty development grants and professional development programs. Let's go to the next slide. So this slide details then the work of the administration. It's very dense, I know. But programming and curricular support requires a lot of academic administration. That's probably not surprising. Within the academic administration, we support the mission by, of course, engaging with faculty in shared governance. And it's not just our faculty senate, but we engage with students and staff across the institution in dozens of other committees and governance structures. We oversee academic personnel. We work with HR on hiring, supervising, and evaluating all of our full-time and part-time faculty and academic staff, and work closely with the colleges on faculty retention and tenure and promotion processes. We work closely with the colleges on curriculum and program development, of course, and we do academic policy development. Under academic affairs, we oversee institutional research and data, and much of the data that's generated by IR feeds into our institutional effectiveness process and assessment of our student learning outcomes, which impacts all of our work with THEC and with all of our accreditors. And speaking of accreditation, this takes up a lot of our time in academic affairs. We have both institutional and programmatic accreditation. Right now we have 24 majors, concentrations, and certificates that currently have accreditation, and we have an additional 17 programs seeking accreditation. In sum, we ensure overall academic quality and integrity for APSU. Lastly, we assist with grant development and sponsored programs such as the Veterans Upward Bound program. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Whew. So organizationally, we're very dense. We're a large organization. Of course, I don't expect anyone to read anything on this slide, but it gives you a visual of the complexity of the academic affairs area. And so I thought I'd give you a little bit more insight on that, how we fit inside the footprint of APSU. So let's go to the next slide. APSU has 1,043 full-time employees and 610 part-time employees for a total of 1,653. Of course, I'm giving you this information so that you can see how academic affairs employees fit into the overall institution. So let's go to the next slide. This slide looks at our instructional faculty, which I thought you might find interesting. In academic affairs, we have 385 full-time faculty members and instructors. We have 442 part-time faculty or instructors, including 319 what we call adjunct instructors, and 123 staff members who actually teach in our various programs. So in total, we have 827 instructors of various types. That gives us a student to faculty ratio of 17:1. That's a very effective and efficient student to faculty ratio, and follows probably what I would say very close to the industry standard for a university our size. Let's go to the next slide. So this slide looks at employees in academic affairs division within the institution. And so when you add the staff, academic staff to the instructional faculty and staff that I showed on the last slide, our division employs 948 academic affairs employees, which makes up over 57% of the total employees in the university. Let's go to the next slide. I don't need you to interpret this slide in any way, but I want to show you in the bottom right-hand corner that we have 100 academic affairs employees who have worked at the university for 20 years or more. This constitutes 10% of the 10.5% of the employees in our division. And one faculty member and one staff member are being honored this year for 50 years of service to APSU. And I just think this is amazing. It shows the lifelong commitment that many of our employees have made to APSU. And so I was very impressed when I saw that slide and those numbers. All right, now I'd like to pivot a little bit and share some student data highlights. So let's go to the first of those slides. So this slide illustrates our retention rate on first-time, full-time freshmen over time. This is a statistic that we follow very closely. And I think you heard if you were on the call for our colleague yesterday from ACE, he talked about how important retention is at this time. Preliminary data on the fall 2019 cohort is very promising. As of the date we prepared the slides, our retention rate is 68.5% for first-time, full-time freshmen. Although the official rate won't be available till November, this is the highest rate since 2014. So that's exciting. We are moving the needle in the right direction. Let's go to the next slide. All right, this slide highlights our 6-year graduation rate. I love to see graphs that go that way when you're looking at student outcome data. Preliminary data on our 6-year graduation rate for fall 2014, first-time, full-time freshman graduates is also trending in the right direction. Currently, our rate is 48.3. Of course, I'm not satisfied with that rate, and we still have progress to make in this area, and we're going to continue to make strides and work to continuously improve this. Let's go to the next slide. And then this slide shows the university degrees and certificates awarded. As I mentioned in yesterday's Academic Affairs Committee meeting, Austin Peay State University awarded its highest ever number of degrees during the academic year 2019-2020. All right. This is a 45% increase in total degrees and certificates since 2015-16. In part, you'll notice if you look at the numbers, a large increase in our associate degrees awarded. This is a 235% increase. This increase indicates that many students who earn an associate degree through the Tennessee Promise program continue to earn their baccalaureate degree. Also, the number of master's degrees awarded during the 5-year period increased by 38% and experienced a 7% increase just from last year. So this increase, of course, is due to our increased efforts to create new graduate programs and to attract new graduate students. So this is a very promising trend. Of course, we know we have enrollment challenges, and so we'll continue to work on those, but this was exciting for this year. Let's move to the next slide. So I also thought I would take a moment to remind us about our dual enrollment strategy. And dual enrollment is defined as high school students, usually they're juniors and seniors, who enroll in post-secondary coursework while they are still in high school. The course basically is called dual enrollment because it satisfies both high school and college credit. Basically, dual enrollment encourages a student in high school to try out college in a safe way. And we've been committed to growing our dual enrollment over the last few years. So the percentage of dual enrollment students who have then matriculated onto APSU after high school is on the rise. And that's one of the reasons we do dual enrollment. We want to see those students go on to college and be successful, and specifically go on to APSU. So in 2019, almost 45% of our APSU dual enrollment students enrolled at APSU after high school graduation. This is I know you may not have context, but this is an extremely impressive statistic. Nationally, this is way above the national average. And so this is very impressive. I have never been at an institution that got anywhere near this statistic. And so that's a great trend for us, and we're going to continue to try to keep that growing in the right direction. Let's go to the next slide. So now I'd like to highlight some of the work and the achievements occurring in the Academic Affairs Division. As I mentioned earlier, our fall-to-fall retention rate of first-time, full-time students is headed in the right direction, and we're definitely moving the needle there. So I want to just remind you of a few of the initiatives aimed to promote and improve student success and retention. We're going to continue to push on these and to try to be as innovative as possible as we move forward, because we have to continue to get better on retention. So some examples here. We've added new academic professional advisors at the freshman level and in some of our professional programs. This was key to continuing to improve how we advise our students and to help them persist and retain. Through a grant, we partnered with AmeriCourse to also be able to hire 4 College Possible coaches. Some of you may know we created the Adopt a Govs program, which couples alumni and first-year students for mentoring of those students, and that's a fantastic program. We've developed some new curricular initiatives to improve academic success, and we'll continue to do that on an ongoing basis. For example, we revised APSU 1000 college readiness course, and we're working on developing stronger reading skills in our introductory English and humanity courses. We've also done structural reorganization to establish the Learning Resource Center to continuously improve how we serve students. And I look forward to working with our academic success staff and our faculty on continuing to innovate in this area. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is an area where I'd like to take a moment just to talk about some of the achievements in our colleges and among our faculty. So this is a real challenge, because I could talk for hours about this, and I could give you hundreds of examples. I've been told I'm not allowed to do that, though. You may want, but I would encourage the board to maybe consider doing a board update, actually looking at each college. And so the depth and breadth of those achievements spans everything from innovations, like you watched earlier in our spotlight on aviation sciences, to other types of new academic programs, to honors and accolades, accreditation wins, how we engage the community, and in lots and lots of scholarly and creative achievements. So just to illustrate a few specific examples, and I will keep this brief. For example, the College of Behavioral and Health Sciences, we implemented 2 new programs in this past fall, in the fall of 2020, a new BS in kinesiology and a new PsyD counseling and new PsyD programming in counseling psychology. We're very excited that the College of Business received ACSB approval for initial eligibility application, and it's now moving on to the next step in seeking its college accreditation. This is a fantastic achievement, and we're excited to see how that progresses. The College of Arts and Letters launched a very cool initiative called We Can't Make It Without the Arts. Shows the importance of how arts and humanities fit in society, and how it's important to have students in this area because they serve communities as they graduate in meaningful ways. The Erickson College of Education created the college's first residency pathway. This is an early learning residency program for teachers' aides to help them work on accelerated bachelor's degrees in education. This is has gained national recognition and is a really innovative program, and we're looking at ways to expand that program now. Woodward Library hosted a program to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Student Coalition for Gay Rights. And so this shows how we engage in those important topics on campus and in the community. And then, as you all know, we have an excellent ROTC program, and I'm really excited about this one. The APSU ROTC Ranger Challenge team won the Bold Warrior Challenge last fall at Fort Knox, Kentucky, qualifying us for a second straight year for the globally renowned Sandhurst Military Skills Competition at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. And I have been told that this competition this year is going to be featured in some national public broadcasting programs. And so there's going to be some cool national documentaries done on the Sandhurst. And so we're going to get some great exposure from that. Yep, and then finally, the College of STEM continues to bring in a really high number of grants to support undergraduate and graduate research efforts. So this past year was the college's second highest year for grants in both in amount, 1.7 million, and in the numbers received. And so kudos to them. And I saved them for last because I want to help have that transition us into talking a little bit more about grants and where we are in terms of our external funding. So let's go to the next slide. And I want to talk about APSU's external funding via grants and competitive contracts. We just had our best year ever in this area. We ended this year with $6,750,000 in grants and external funding. And if we include our COVID funding, the amount is just shy of $8 million. Without the COVID money, this is about $300,000 more funding than the last all-time high from 2 years ago. And so, this shows all of the work that happens across all of the academic affairs division among faculty and academic staff to bring in additional sources of revenue and research support to the university. It also shows how we are transforming and continuing to grow and improve in terms of our scholarship, creative achievement, and how our students engage in research. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. Finally, I'd like to just briefly look ahead for a moment as we continue to continuously improve our academic operation. Now in my first year, I will be working closely with the colleges and with our academic staff and with other stakeholders across the university to engage in deep listening and, of course, thoughtful conversation in order to establish short-term and midterm priorities in anticipation of comprehensive strategic planning. So in thinking, as I engage this year, these are some of the tenets that I will be concentrating on, and I shared these with faculty at the start of the academic year. So of course, faculty and staff development will be a priority. Where are our gaps in terms of support for faculty and staff development? We'll be thinking deeply about comprehensive academic planning. Of course, with a new president coming to the institution, now is the time to think about academic strategic planning, where we want to go in terms of teaching, research, scholarship, and creative achievement, and where we want to go as an institution to support, continue to enroll and support our students. Again, as I said at the very beginning of this presentation, the academic mission has to be the scaffold upon which the rest of the institutional strategy is built. And so now is the time to be thinking about that academic strategy. Of course, driving student success is going to be a top priority. This includes the whole student engagement process, from the first time we engage a student through the admissions process to when we hand them their diploma and partner with Student Affairs on Career Services to launch them into great careers. Another priority is communication and stewardship. I want to make sure that I am fostering and increasing the way we communicate, fostering good transparency among the academic community, both inside the institution and outside. I want to help the institution continue to build our reputational footprint and communicate the great work that our faculty, staff, and students are doing. And then, of course, partnering with individuals across the university, in the colleges, and across the other divisions on diversity and inclusion efforts and initiatives. And so those are the priorities that I'm focusing on as we go into our first year. I will just end by saying that, of course, those priorities come on top of all the continuing things that we have to do. For example, you know, I'm excited that we're going to graduate our first doctoral students in the spring of 2021. And of course, I can't forget that we'll have continuing SAC-COC reaffirmation things to do. So we're going to begin readiness on that, on our next audit for that. So I don't want to go too long on time, so I want to thank you for the opportunity to share an overview of academic affairs. I know we have some newer board members, and I thought this might be helpful to give you some of a better understanding of the depth and breadth of the things that we do in academic affairs. And I was excited to get to share the important work of our faculty and staff to provide excellent teaching and learning experiences for our students. So as we end, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Dr. Cron, I actually have one. Going back to the dual enrollment slide,
Sure.
It seems like, well, first of all, how many high schools are involved? Is it just in Montgomery County? And it seems like, you know, the more high schools in kind of the major areas that we serve that are participating in the dual enrollment, the better our opportunity, not only to serve those students, but to entice them to come to Austin Peay and help enrollment.
Right.
So how widespread is that?
I don't have the exact number for you, but we are much broader than Montgomery County. So Montgomery County is, of course, a large and important partner for us. But we also serve area high schools and have programs in community centers across the region. And we're always continually trying to add. In fact, we just added a new partners this year, and we're going to continue to do that. So we're always trying to grow that in the areas in where we're serving dual enrollment, and we're always trying to expand the classes that we're doing inside those high schools. And so we really try to focus. We draw a lot of students, as you know, within that 100-mile range, and so we're trying to make sure our dual enrollment is saturated in a similar kind of footprint.
Dr. Cronin, I have a question. You may have answered it and I missed it. Do we have a strategic goal for dual enrollment and our strategic plan?
So over the last few years, we have made it a strategic priority to try to grow dual enrollment. And the reason we want to do that is because those students, again, for us, it's been a great matriculation tool. We get those students to enroll at APSU. So priorities around dual enrollment are, of course, I think, to Trustee O'Malley's point, we want to make sure that we have dual enrollment programs inside where we are actively recruiting students. We want to make sure that those students have a wide range and strong menu of courses to take. And then we want to make sure that we partner with admissions to matriculate those students into APSU and continue to raise that matriculation rate. I'm going to be looking at working with our admissions group and with our dual enrollment group to think about what exactly over the next year or 2 years should those numbers grow by. You know, we have to be careful. There is a flip side to growing dual enrollment in that it does take a tremendous amount of faculty resources. And those students traditionally aren't paying full tuition. Those students are often subsidized by state funds. And so they are not full-time enrolled students with us. And so we need to make sure that we're balancing our resources that we have available to make sure that we're serving our full-time students while using our dual enrollment to help grow the future pipeline for APSU. So I'll be working to make sure that we're trying to find that right balance as we continue to move forward.
Provost Cronley, this is Carrie McInnes. I loved your presentation, and I have to share with you, since I'm new on the trustee board, I'm thrilled about the ACCSB moving in the right direction to start the accreditation process yet again after serving on the College of Business Advisory Board when it was initially in progress. So thank you for you and Dean Hepner's efforts on that. And then also as a second member, or the member of the second class, I should say, now I'm showing my age, General Luck, of the President's Emerging Leaders Program. That program has continued and still benefits me as a graduate of that program to this day, 25 years later. And so I have a lot of affection for the President's Emerging Leaders Program. It totally changed my life.
That's great.
And then thirdly, the slide that you listed that showed the increase in the degrees, that also was wonderful too, because I recently finished two terms on TSAC last June and was part of the process of the Tennessee Promise. So it's clearly evident that the Tennessee Promise is benefiting students and families, which was why that program was put in place. So thank you.
It absolutely is. And so I know Dean Hepner will be thrilled to hear your praise. He is doing a fantastic job. It is not, AACSB is one of the most challenging programmatic accreditors in the nation, and he's doing great work to help move us forward on that. And so we look forward to his work there. I'm glad to hear that the leadership program was a great thing for you, and we're excited to keep that's got a long legacy and will keep growing.
Any other questions? Dr. Cronley, thanks. As Carrie said it well. It was a terrific presentation, a lot of really good information. I go away from it impressed not only with the big and important job that you have, but the quality and hard work of all the faculty and staff that are in the Academic Affairs Division. Great job to everyone. So thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to recognize President Whiteside to give her report and also report on any interim items. Danelle?
Thank you, Chairman O'Malley. And first, I want to echo Chairman O'Malley's sentiments in welcoming Carrie McGinnis to the Board of Trustees. She has enthusiastically stepped in and hit the ground running already. And from our conversations, I can tell that she loves Austin Peay. Even in her recent remarks, it's about how deeply entrenched she is and, serving on a number of boards and helping us out. So we're fortunate to have you join our board. I also want to publicly thank Larry Carroll for his service to the board. Just so you all know, we are sending him a token of appreciation on your behalf to him. He served us aptly as an inaugural trustee, and so we really appreciate him. Now, we haven't had a regular meeting since I was named interim president, so allow me this opportunity to say thank you to Chairman O'Malley and to the Board of Trustees for selecting me as interim president. There have been, since I started on August the 10th, a lot of highs and lows, but I can tell you that I have loved every single day. So thank you for this honor. And I appreciate your confidence in me and your support. And I've, again, as I said, been at the helm for a little over a month, and I am so incredibly proud of how our faculty, staff, and students have risen through so many transitions. Transition, Dr. Cronley is a new provost, myself as interim president, and obviously a new way of operating around COVID-19. And as I've seen in these past months and weeks, if the Austin Peay family is nothing else, we are resilient. So at the June board meeting, President White discussed what we had done in the spring to prepare for bringing students back this fall. And so now that the fall semester has started, I want to provide you with an update about how the semester is going and what has occurred since we met in June. Just to let you know, we're still operating at the moderate risk level, and we have been back in school now for almost a month, and so far everything has gone well. Let me pause here and give a huge kudos to our students. I knew our students were special, but they have proven it hand over fist. They're following the guidelines by wearing their mask inside APSU buildings and remaining 6 feet apart, including inside the classrooms. We do ask that they wear masks even when they're outside if they're within 6 feet of each other. And even though Montgomery County has lifted the mask mandate, anyone on campus at APSU is still required to wear a mask indoors. As Dr. Norman mentioned yesterday, we had the scheduled move-ins to the residence halls, which occurred a week prior to normal, and everything went smoothly. I think they're planning to continue that week schedule because it just went really, really nicely. And so, as Dr. Norman shared with the Student Affairs Committee yesterday, the Student Affairs Division hosted the Freshman Orientation Weekend virtually this year. And then during the first 2 days of the semester, we had faculty and staff outside of the academic buildings distributing masks to students who needed one. And during that first day, we gave out 16,000 masks, which I think is pretty impressive. We also distributed fanny packs, believe it or not, those are back in style, to our freshman students. And it had a mask, hand sanitizer, and a thermometer. So this has been a hands-on effort. Now, as we expected, we have had positive cases. We have people in quarantine and in isolation. Our data is self-reported, but our faculty, staff, and students have been vigilant about completing the forms. And I really have to thank our Division of Student Affairs and Human Resources. They split up the contact tracing and they get what we call Maxient forms. And they come in every day. They come in on the weekends. And so those two particular divisions really don't get time off because they're constantly receiving those reports, contacting other people who might have been exposed to others. And when I tell you they are so dedicated, it's been tremendous. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted them. Now, we have a self-reporting dashboard online that tracks our data in real time. McCartney's going to pull that up so that you can see it. It's updated every morning and is available for the public to view on our coronavirus website. I want to also thank our GIS Center for once again coming through. You know, we told you, I think in at the June meeting that the GIS Center had come up with face shields that they were making, sending across the state. So they also have come up with our dashboard that's updated daily. So if you're ever curious about where we are in terms of our numbers, you can see that on the dashboard. It will tell you Montgomery County's numbers. It will also tell you the number of supplies that we have on campus. Right now we are well supplied. We're still encouraging people to use the get masks if they need them, to get hand sanitizer if they need it. We have wipes that they can use, not the wet wipes, but the dry wipes, so they'll spray down their workstations or anything like that. And so I just wanted you to see that. I also got a text from Scott Brower, who, as you know, General Brower has been on the Governor's Unified Command. And he let me know that as of today, Austin Peay has the lowest % positive cases in the state among the public LGIs in the UT system. So when I tell you we are rocking it out, we are doing so well. And so I'm so very proud. And through this process, I have been committed to frequent communication and transparency. So every Wednesday around lunchtime, I go live on Facebook and Instagram to give a campus update and answer people's questions regarding COVID-19. It has been very well received. And on Instagram, we have at least 1,000 unique viewers per the Instagram. And then on Facebook, we have 2,000 unique viewers. It's very popular and very well accessed. And so I've enjoyed connecting with the community, and I get great feedback back that it's, you know, we should continue that. And then we also share those recordings every week with the campus community. If they're not able to catch it live, they can see it back later through the President's Corner to keep everyone informed. I've continued to stress doing all of our part to keep our community and campus safe. Again, that means discouraging attending large gatherings and parties where we are not practicing social distance guidelines, the CDC guidelines. And we've had to, you know, there have been some consequences for organizations who have hosted unsanctioned events. But I think we need to be strong on that to make sure that we can continue down the course. And as I've been saying, we have a road to November, so we're just trying to make sure that we can get there and get there safely. I also have started what I've called pop-ins with the Prez, and this is through Zoom. And they're pop-ins where faculty, staff, and students are able to share any of their thoughts or concerns with me. And they sign up for a 15-minute time slot. And I have planned these about every 3 weeks. And so I've already hosted one. I have one coming up very soon. And I've had really, really great conversations with our campus community about their concerns and ideas for the future. As you may know, we have postponed homecoming this fall until the spring, partly because we didn't have a home game, and so there's no home to come back to, basically. So when we have conference games scheduled for the spring, we will announce a new homecoming date. And despite us not having a fall homecoming, we will be still doing some things to commemorate that fall tradition, which is so important. So our Alumni Relations Office is hosting the annual golf tournament. I believe that we just sent out information about that yesterday. So if you haven't gotten that, let me know. We'll get that to you. And we also had a virtual 5K run that is still continually going on. Some people ask, how can you run virtually for a 5K? If you have questions, I'll talk to you after this. But obviously that 5K is very popular and it benefits scholarships. And the great thing about this year is doing it virtually. We've had people from all across the country sign up because, you know, they don't have to come to Clarksville to do it. So we've been really, really excited about that. We'll also be announcing our outstanding alumni award virtually in October. And we plan to host virtually the Fall Military Alumni Chapter Scholarship. And you can get information on those via your email. We'll send, I believe that Alumni Relations has already sent out invitations for those virtually for RSVP. So please let us know if you don't get those. And Catherine, Trustee Canada asked about signing up for the virtual 5K. And so we'll get you that information as well. So please be on the lookout for these exciting events. And we will announce again the spring homecoming date once the conference football games are announced. Now, I know many of you have been watching the football team play on TV. We played against Central Arkansas and Pittsburgh, and that allowed us to reach tens of millions of people across the nation. I was so proud, especially at the Central Arkansas game. You know, the headline said we might have lost the game, but we won the weekend because we took the guys to Selma, walked across the bridge, and it was just a really impactful time for the team. And I loved every minute of being out there with them. It was just so special. So I am grateful for how they represented us and how they continue to represent us. The athletics department has done a phenomenal job of keeping our student athletes safe. I know we would have all liked to see opportunities for them to play more sports this fall, but I'm happy that the football team has been able to play. And more importantly, that they have really set an example for how we're going to be able to play safely in the spring. We've actually opened up some of our fall sports who have been practicing. We've opened up some of those practices to the public. And I think one is coming up for volleyball in October, again, so that we can test out protocols and make sure that we have things settled so that when the spring comes and we have more sports online, that we'll be able to, you know, manage the crowds that we have. Now, I have to really stop here and give a huge kudos to Gerald Harrison, our athletics director, and his entire athletic staff for all the hoops and hurdles that they have jumped through this summer and this fall. Our athletes test every single week, and the football team tests multiple times per week and at least 72 hours before each contest. And they'll even have to test tomorrow before they play Cincinnati. And so this has been no small undertaking. I just wanted to make sure that I highlighted that effort. Beyond COVID-19, even in the midst of this pandemic, our student athletes earned the OVC Academic Medal of Honor, which is amazing. We set a program record for 34 student athletes earning this honor because they each carried a 4.0 grade point average. Awesome. And so I want to commend them for that effort. Despite all the things that were going on, they still maintained that high academic pursuit. And I also appreciate our faculty and staff who really helped to tutor and mentor our student athletes. You know, yesterday you heard from Provost Cronley and Vice President Robinson about our enrollment and budget constraints. Now we are continuing to monitor our enrollment, and we look forward to what the final numbers will be once we add up, of course, our dual enrollment students and our fall 2 at Fort Campbell. We are in the midst of developing an all hands on deck recruiting strategy for fall 2021. And we really hope and we expect that this will have some great yields for us coming up in the fall. Because of the decreases that we have seen in enrollment, we are watching our budget and have already begun implementing some of the ideas from the Financial Planning Task Force report. So we will continue to meet the university's core mission, even with budget cuts that we have to make. Our faculty, staff, and students have been resilient during this pandemic, as I said before. Even while they are preparing for the fall semester, our faculty still produce scholarly work. For instance, musical theater voice professor Dr. John Ray wrote and directed 2 mini musicals during the pandemic, and they were recorded through Zoom and then broadcast on YouTube. Dr. Ray spent over 250 hours creating, rehearsing, directing, and then producing the final musicals. Recently, I received a story from a staff member that I could relate to as a mother of a little one. The staff member started her position at the university the same week that we transitioned to remote work. So in addition to starting her new job, her daycare shut down and she had a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old at home. Crazy. And We have all had our meetings virtual over the last several months, and like many others, myself included, hers included appearances from her children. And she started feeling the pressures of having children at home and being new to the university. So she contacted our Human Resources Department, and they guided her through accessing the benefits available through the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, where she was able to use 10 days of paid leave. And she said that everyone was really understanding and helped her tremendously at APSU. And she was thankful because her husband really was not extended that same support at his job. So I wanted to highlight just the ways that we have been flexible. And I'm grateful to our Human Resources Office for the innovative ways that they have helped our employees navigate this trying time, and also the supervisors and managers who have really had to be flexible and understanding and try to, navigate all the holes in work and coming up with flexible work days. And it's just been so a Herculean effort on behalf of our managers and supervisors. So I wanted to highlight them. In our College of STEM, the faculty are creating innovative ways to keep students engaged even in a virtual environment. Mr. Sam Ligo, who is a statistics instructor, engineered many teaching props, with the most recent being a Galton board. And if you don't know what that is, I had to look it up. It's very cool. So I encourage you to look it up. Dr. Leslie Hyatt, who's chemistry professor, made a light board over the summer, and that's a glass chalkboard which is pumped full of light. Again, I had to look that up too. And she's used that to record her video lectures. It's very impressive. Dr. Kalina Dunkel, who is associate professor in geosciences and associate dean to the College of STEM, has made creative videos on understanding various topography. These are just some of the examples of how our faculty are taking their ordinary instructional resources and making them into extraordinary interactive tools for our students to learn during this virtual environment. Because of these innovations, we have seen our faculty lead in big ways across the state, or across the country, and across the world. APSU's own professional mad scientist, Brian Gaither, hosted a virtual science demonstration for the Society of Physics students, where he performed 3 demos on fire and pressure. And if you've never seen one of Dr. Gaither's experiments, you really should, because they're very cool and fascinating. So I just wanted to highlight him. Over the summer, Dr. Harold Young, Associate Professor in Political Science, published a new book examining the British Commonwealth and the Caribbean Appeals Court. Doctors Jessica Fripp, Emily Pica, and Jeff Thompson received community recognition for their work on the 2020 mentoring program, which is an incredible collaboration with Montgomery County Juvenile Court. You all heard about this this time last year in a previous campus spotlight. And so that program continues and is still receiving accolades in the community. So I'm proud of all of our faculty and their outstanding accomplishments. In August, the Registrar's Office, the Commencement Committee, and more than 150 faculty and staff volunteers came together, and we hosted 6 commencement ceremonies over 2 days. The ceremonies followed all the proper social distancing guidelines, masks were required, and I really want to thank everyone who helped assist us with commencement. It was a team effort. We had people from all areas, maybe not normally involved with commencement, but we sent out a sign-up sheet campus-wide, and we had so many volunteers. So I want to thank them. And it really, really meant a great deal to our students and their families who didn't think that they would get the opportunity to see their student or that student see themselves walk across the stage. So it was very important that we do that, and I'm grateful for that experience. And we really showed how an event of that magnitude can still occur in a socially distanced manner, and we are in the planning stages for our December commencement ceremony. On September 10th, SGA President Kito Aru and his team organized a successful event called the Unity Step, which was a solidarity walk on campus to show that we are united as an APSU community in navigating the social unrest affecting this country. There were about 170 students and employees gathered at the event, again, practicing CDC guidelines, but it also included a ribbon garden, which was the brainchild of Dr. Eric Norman. And the ribbon garden is still available, I believe, maybe until today. And you can write your thoughts and reflections about how COVID-19 is affecting you, how racial and social injustices may be affecting you, and he's going to archive those for years to come. And so it really was a beautiful sight to behold all those participants. I've also partnered with the Office of Equity, Access, and Inclusion and the university's Diversity Committee for a new campus-wide initiative called A Place at Our Table. And it will be several small diverse groups convening across campus for what I hope will be healing conversations around the racial and social issues of our time. In the first 2 days when we sent out the announcement, we had 65 people signed up to participate, which is a sign for me that people are ready to engage in the challenge in confronting the challenges that we face in that regard. I also wanted to give you a brief update about where we are with the Montgomery County Multipurpose Event Center. We are in the final stages of the state approval process for the lease. In fact, we will be going and speaking with the State Building Commission on Monday. So I will update you all individually next week as we progress forward and keep you updated on that. Now, as you all know, we announced the launching of our comprehensive campaign, which will kick off in November. And we've been in the silent phase of this campaign for a few years, and it was put on hold because of COVID-19. But I spoke with many of you and several of our donors and friends, and it was clear to me that we needed to move forward. As I said yesterday, COVID-19 will one day be a memory, but the needs of our university will persist, which is why it was important to me to continue that effort. So I'd like to thank Chris Phillips and his team, and with the generous support of our donors, we have already raised $58 million of that campaign. We have not yet announced the final goal amount, but Chris believes, and I believe, that we're going to exceed whatever that goal amount is, but we hope to wrap up that campaign by December 2021. I appreciate your support and your guidance during this time. We're working on the spring calendar to see where we need to adjust, if any, due to COVID-19, and I will keep you posted on any changes that occur. However, at this juncture, I really feel confident that our faculty, staff, and students are doing what is needed to keep each other safe and allow us to continue offering classes on campus. I welcome any comments or questions that you may have during this time. And I also like to remind you that the interim items and any contracts that have been signed since our last meeting are in your materials.
Questions or comments for Danelle?
Great job, Danelle. Thank you. You're doing a lot of great things on campus. I am particularly impressed with your open communication engagement and the ways that you're allowing students and the community access to you. So well done.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
One quick comment from me. Now, you're the best.
Oh, thank you.
That's for me.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I would agree. I think, Danelle, you've done a great job in a short period of time and in an unprecedented time. And so is everyone in leadership at the university. Your report was terrific. With you and Dr. Cronley, the two reports that we had a chance to hear today, it's impressive what's going on at the university. And then to hear that comment from General Brower about how Austin Peay is the #1 university in the state in terms of how we're managing through the COVID experience. We should all be very proud of that, both with students and faculty and staff, administration. You guys are all doing great, and we're very proud of you. So thank you very much for the great report.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we conclude? Okay, as a reminder, our next regularly scheduled meeting will take place December 3rd and 4th, 2020. And I move that the meeting adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
It is moved and seconded. Thank you, Catherine, that the meeting adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed to adjourning?
I have one question for Don.
Yeah.
Don, where are you going down here in Florida? You can come over and help me clean my lawn if you're coming.
But we have a pretty good engagement.
The ayes have it, and the meeting is adjourned. Gary, you can call Don on your own.
Oh, gosh.
Thank you all. Great to see you on Zoom.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.